Hi, it's Michelle, and welcome to vlog 4 of my vlog series for my newly published book Identity, which is available to be purchased on www.amazon.com or www.amazon.com.au. Today I'll be giving a brief insight behind chapter 3, which is titled Falling, and basically the story behind naming the chapter Falling was that I was now heavily into the whole world of mania and being unwell, and I had fallen away from reality and what I was actually doing. So there was me with my thoughts and my delusions and my emotions, which were all completely overwhelming. And then there was, Thomas, for example, who was looking at me just, I think at that time he would have just not been understanding at all what was happening to me, because this had never happened before. I remember this day, one of the things that I was doing was, so basically from the last chapter I left home and I walked down the street, and it was really foggy, and I couldn't even see at the end of the street. I think maybe I saw like a meter or so ahead of me, and the rest was fog. So and it was early in the morning, and it was cold, and then it started to rain, and I thought about going to a petrol station originally just to sit outside and find shelter from the rain, but somehow I ended up at this church I'd never been to, and I ended up just kind of sitting outside the church, kind of just in this little area near a garden for shelter from the rain. And I heard a voice which I'd never heard before, telling me that a lady with a baby was going to approach me and invite her into her house, which did happen, and I was supposed to obey this voice. And all the while I had a delusion in my head as well of people watching me. So I end up in the house with the lady and her baby, and I met her husband, and then and this is stuff that I typically wouldn't do. I have never taken an invitation from a stranger to go into someone's house and spend time with them. And I guess it depends on the situation, but that is very much not like my usual self. And that's also not to say this lady was dangerous in any way, but it can be dangerous just following strangers into places that you've never been before. After that I headed back to the church, and it was Father's Day, so I decided to attend church there, even though I'd never been there before, and I sat in the back row next to a window, and there were like many people that came in. It was quite a full congregation, and I just thought of my dad. I was just consumed with the feeling of missing my dad. And then before I knew it, they started their worship music, and it started out with me just softly crying to myself, and the music then just started to feel so powerful that before I knew it, I was completely out of control, and I went from crying just to myself really quietly, and then crying really loud and sobbing, and then screaming at the top of my lungs and completely ruining the service. And all the while in my head I was telling myself to stop screaming, because I could hear what was happening, but my body was just, in like full throttle of just screaming my lungs out, and I didn't know how to stop it. And then I was escorted to a back room by 3 guys, obviously from the church, and I fell to the floor and I was shaking, and Thomas came, and I messaged him to come get me. I somehow managed to call him, I think, or message him, and he came, and then the ambulance came, and then we had a lot of waiting time in hospital, and then eventually I was admitted into the psych ward, and Thomas left, and we didn't even get to say goodbye to each other, because at the time I also held the delusion that he was against me, and I thought I was a character out of a movie. I thought I was a character out of the movie Salt, and so once again I was just in a whole world of make-believe that I had created in my head. And I just remember being, like, looking back at church where I was screaming, I really feel for myself back at that time, because I think it was just something in me had just snapped, and there had been I think it, like I said in the other video, it had been around 8 years, I think, since my father had died, and I was estranged with my family, and I didn't really have any close friends. I didn't really feel as though I had anyone that I could really confide in. I felt like Thomas was really sick of my constant struggle with just being depressed and just being unhappy, and I think he just wanted me to get over it, and that with time I was just expected to get over it. And no matter what I did, I could not deal with my dad's death, with not having him in my life. I felt like he was always my guiding light, and the one that I would always go to about anything and everything in life that I had questions about. And then being away from my mum and my siblings, I just felt all alone. And earlier on, I went to an all-girls high school where I kind of got like a scholarship type deal, and I got badly bullied there and just given a hard time by one particular girl who just made it feel like absolute hell to go to school there, and I couldn't really make any close friends no matter how much I tried. So I think the combination of all these experiences that I went through, and all these situations and all these suppressed emotions, and not being able to express it for 8 years, it was all just an explosion that happened in the church, and it was my time of complete undoing and just completely crashing and burning. And so the chapter ends with me, like I said, being admitted into a psych ward, though at the time I had no idea what was happening. So that is chapter 3. I hope you enjoy reading it, and I will see you in the next video for vlog 4. God bless.